Welcome to Nuked Radio.
That's your only.
Thursday,
Yeah, I know.
October 25th, 2012, and this is Jules. Sitting in for Christina today. We have an interesting crew, just like we had on Tuesday. Today we have with us Mr. Scott Bug and NiburuMagick. We also have Mr. Kurt Williams sitting behind the scenes. Kurt is doing some archive recording for us today, but Kurt, please feel free if you'd like to join in the conversation. And we have Mr. JJ Inc., who is going to hang out with us for a little bit. We're kind of doing a carryover of our 5-hour roundtable extravaganza on the radio for Thursdays. So welcome, everybody. This morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are, we're going to take a look at some issues that have been going on. Not sure who wanted to kick it off today. Niburu, Scott, one of you guys?
I'll go ahead and kick it off since it's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Wait for a second. Hold on.
Happy birthday to you, and may all your dreams come true.
Happy, happy birthday.
Oh,
this is your birthday song. Celebration all night long. May all your dreams come true. We sing all together. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday celebration. Party night, we feel the vibration. Lights are bright, we're feeling all right. We're dancing till the morning.
All right.
Let's do a little birthday dance.
Yeah, I'm dancing in my chair.
I'm digging.
Well, anyway, I don't know. Let's get right to the news, I guess, because most people are here to find out what's really going on. Got a news story coming out of France, Lower Normandy, and Flamanville nuclear power plants. They just announced a contained radioactive water leak detected at the EDF's nuclear plant did not cause any damage to the environment or harm any employees, of course. France Nuclear Safety Watchdog, ASN, and EDF said on Thursday, the Nuclear Safety Agency said on its website, the EDF had detected a leak in the water pipe that feeds the plant's reactor 1 primary circuit late Wednesday. So these old, reactors go on, and I believe everybody here is in agreement that nuclear energy is a crime against humanity, and we need to shut all of these down. Just to start off the show with that, I guess.
Totally, 100% agreed.
Well, especially now, I'm looking at 2 earthquakes that hit Greenland. And that place never gets earthquakes. It is rebounding like crazy now, man. And they were, 4.6s? Wow.
Yeah.
And they got volcanoes over there too, man. Could you imagine one of those start, because it's isostatic adjustment, it'll push that magma underneath that continent, and it is, and it's lifting it. Yeah. Can you imagine when those start going and you got all that ice there? Whoa, holy smokes.
Didn't they find a bunch of undersea volcanoes underneath the Arctic, a year or 2 ago? I think I remember reading the story on that. I mean, some really big ones down there.
Yeah, and off the coast of California, too. They're everywhere. Yeah. They've never mapped out the ocean for nothing, man. They got better maps than Mars.
Kind of odd, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. Actually, we were just talking about Mars and the high-res mapping that they've been doing, and they do have better maps of Mars than the ocean floor, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, that's why I keep writing them to keep them accountable. They know these earthquakes are coming. It's kind of like the Costa Rica quakes that hit the other day. You know, I have a video up from 10 months ago that was telling everybody that place it's GOL. It was before the 7th earthquakes hit it, the 6th earthquake. Explain why, and then I explain how on the other side of that thing in the Gulf it's the path of least resistance, and you know, just off the coast of Jamaica yesterday, 5.4. You know, and I'm going like, the people, man, you better start waking up, man. And they got a nuclear reactor down there. Don't kid yourself. They got a nuclear reactor in Mexico, sitting off the Gulf, and in one of the worst positions it could be. Straight up.
Nice. More earthquakes coming out of Japan too. E&E News is reporting strong quakes hitting the prefectures bordering Fukushima. So that's more shaking and rattling going on in Japan as well.
Oh yeah, well now that you've gone into winter pretty much for the Arctic, so you'll start freezing the top ice. It will literally push out the water that is there. See, when you lose a million miles of ice, okay, that ice, it takes off, okay, a lot of it, and some of it still sits around and pools here and there. But once it starts refreezing, but what happens is that land rebounds up behind it. So it starts pushing out a little more of the water. Now you got little slopes happening. And then once the ice starts refreezing, it literally pushes out water more. You know, so you start getting all this water evacuating down to the center of the equator. So it starts triggering the earthquakes more during those time frames, especially after a severe melt like we just had. So it's going to get very, very rocking here. That's just physics. It's just science. But you got to keep these people accountable, man. They should be warning those people. They should be evacuating them. Nobody's saying nothing, and I'm not going to let them get away with it. Nonsense, man. That's garbage. I'm just going to keep shouting it from the rooftops, man.
Screaming it online.
440 nuclear reactors. If they would have listened to me, they would have shut down those Japan ones. If they would have listened, heck, I got videos on YouTube. I told them that was going to get smacked. And radio shows. Jeez.
Yeah, I remember that.
I believe that we have also connected Linda West. Linda, are you here?
Hi, guys.
Hi, Linda.
Hey,
How are
Linda.
you?
Good morning. Staggering from getting my Christmas flights back home to Buffalo and having it cost $1,200. Like,
What?
yes, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to Tahiti. Did you hear me right? Buffalo. It's like, oh my God.
How
But
big are your Christmas lights?
You know what? I'll tell you one thing. I'm sure not going to be sitting on the coast of California on December 21st, 2012. No, I'm going to be here. So.
I don't know. That East Coast is looking pretty severe too now.
Yeah. Well, we went over how there's no really, like, there is no, certain space where you can say, oh, I'm perfectly immune right here. I'm going to be fine. It's not really to work like that, but tending that, like, the coast of California was probably, like, up in the top 10 of places that you wouldn't want to be if the earth shook up. I'm just going to go home and visit my folks. Just go with the flow, That's how.
Hey,
God
man,
yeah. Up and it's like, hey, Lynn, why don't you go this way? It's just like sometimes I'm like, okay, let's just go this way. I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. There might be a reason. So Buffalo it is for $1,200.
Wow. Hey, did you guys see the story that came out? I believe it was this morning on Extinction Protocol about the methane off of the East Coast now. I mean, I had seen the methane up around Alaska and Russia. They were talking about coming out of the seafloor. And then they also had, and that was a massive, one of the Russian scientists were saying it was the biggest methane leak they've ever seen. Then they had methane reported up north of England and Ireland around one of the mining platforms. But this is the first that I've seen about the methane, quote unquote, rapidly destabilizing off of the East Coast. Anyone know anything about that besides
know
what's in
why.
this article? What's going on?
I did a video years ago on methane blast or methane gas nuclear blast ocean. I got that video years ago, man. Yeah, the methane hydrates they're defrosting. you got magmatic activity. It's gonna bust up. It's gonna release those methane hydrates globally, and they run along with all the fault systems. It's like when Harvard released that article on what caused the last extinction age, and they blamed it on dinosaur farts. And I kid you not. And they said that the atmosphere was 90% methane. And I'm going, holy smokes. Because that's what we're looking at, This stuff's going to get released. When the Russian scientists came out and said that they haven't seen a methane release up in Arctic like in 425,000 years. Okay.
Yeah, and this is huge,
Yeah.
they said. The biggest one that they've
Yeah.
ever seen.
Yeah, we're talking biblical
Segue
numbers now.
A bunch of farmers in upstate New York, they run their complete farms off of methane gas. They take whatever, the cow manure, I don't know the process.
Yeah, that's what they do. They have the cow manure and they put it into this unit. My husband's uncle actually is a dairy farmer up here in upstate New York. And the last time we hung out, he was telling me he wanted to get one of those methane creation units to use the cow manure. But the thing is, they cost like $1 million to buy one of the pieces of machinery to do it.
Oh, that's too bad. But I'm just thinking, I mean, it sounds really bad, but if there was some way that we could capture that methane energy and convert it instead of fracking everything out of the ground. I mean, if it's coming out, I mean, I don't know. I guess you're saying it's a horrible thing, kind of like they thought with the Bermuda Triangle when the methane burps out and can
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because the Bermuda Triangle specials that we've been seeing for the last 20 years about, potential methane releases being what caused the ships and the planes, or the ships to lose buoyancy and the planes to fall out of the sky. On one of those specials way back when, they had talked about if there's so much methane trapped underneath the ocean floor that if that methane started to get released into the atmosphere, they were talking extinction level dinosaur event. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So when I started seeing these reports, and now there's this one about with the Atlantic Ocean, this is pretty scary. And even Dane Wigington, who was one of the engineers that was on What in the World Are They Spraying? We had him on for an interview a couple weeks back, and Dane started talking about the methane, that no one is looking at these huge methane releases and how devastating these could be to the Earth's atmosphere, beyond, being able to fix it, extinction level.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about the methane for a little bit, but early to it was covering the methane glaciers. He was talking about them as methane glaciers. So I always looked at it methane hydrates, but he was the first one that was talking about it over there in the Gulf. Methane and I was like, cool. I love that. I was talking to him the other day. He's funny, but that methane's a real player. It's also greenhouse gas. We've got some big problems now. Looking at all this new rebound in the higher latitudes, and as this Earth is stretching down here on the center of the equator, going across the galactic plane. I am not big on space, folks. Okay, but from what I'm seeing by pressure, weight, loading, and unloading, and the earthquakes coming, I would say when you get to 2012, I see the magnetic field taking a swing towards the United Kingdom. Not going towards Russia anymore, but actually veering away and going towards the United Kingdom. And, it's mathematics, physics, and science. And, I sent an email over to Suspicious Observer, because I like working with people on YouTube. I don't like working. I do work with other agencies, these ABC things. They call me, I talk with them, no biggie. I don't trip on it. But I rather work with YouTubers, man. That's just my preference, I like talking with all those guys and all these ABCers, USGS, whatever. But I'm going to pull the covers. I'm going to keep pulling their covers. They don't like it, but you know what? That's the only thing that's going to free up funding for them anyway to get ozone detectors out on all these fault lines and things, because they're all politics now, man. Everything's politics. And we don't have time for that nonsense anymore. We got major critical climate changes taking place right now. And the nuclear is, wow, you start getting massive quakes going, that's an extinction level event. I mean, you're looking at a whole bunch of different things here. But as far as the magnetic field, it looks like it's going to start heading towards the UK after these next series of adjustments. But I would like to get with somebody who knows about the galactic plane and maybe how that may interfere with something. But I think that will keep us from bridging the 40 point to swing and delay us out probably 3 years. But, I'm just trying to give you an idea. I'm just trying to give you an idea what I'm seeing scientifically. Okay, that's all I'm trying to do. Yeah, and I'll put the links and everything else. But I would like to get with some other guys, with that one, because I just don't do space. I keep my feet on the earth. And I stay focused here on the earth. I am
looking to spice things up. Then hurry down to Subway for the spicy Italian.
It's the feature $5 footlong of November,
loaded with Genoa salami and spicy pepperoni on freshly baked Italian urban cheese bread. Subway, eat fresh.
And the reason why I say her is because in the Book of Job, the ice is called.
Authorities say 2 people were killed and more than 30 homes will have to be torn down after a late-night explosion tore through this Indianapolis neighborhood Saturday.
So they're watching TV, and next thing you know, it's just this loud explosion. The whole house shook. Things falling off the walls. We got up, ran outside, looked around. There was insulation falling down like snow.
Authorities say 7 people were taken to the hospital. However, most had only minor injuries. The cause of the explosion is under investigation. But the local utility says no one contacted the company Saturday night to report a gas leak.
We put an odorant in gas called mercaptan. Typically when there's a leak, people smell the gas. It's a unmistakable odor. It travels a good distance, so usually when there's a leak, people will detect it.
The congressman who represents the area says investigators have ruled out a bomb or meth lab. Approximately 200 people evacuated from the neighborhood. Most took shelter with friends or relatives, but some spent the night at a nearby school.
Every home in the neighborhood is being surveyed. There are quite a few homes in the neighborhood that are quite a distance from the initial situation that were damaged.
A neighbor who lives across the street from the blast said he initially thought his home had been hit by a plane. And officials say the explosion could be felt as far as 3 miles away. Carlotta Bradley, The Associated Press.
Somehow it gets caught up in that, that's not in fashion. That's New World Order. I don't think it's New World Order to take care of the planet, just because a bunch of the environmentalists have been usurped by big corporations, doesn't mean that we still shouldn't be taking care of her. Just side note from me.
No, I'm glad you said that. I actually just ranted about that exact same thing 2 mornings ago.
I agree. The controlled opposition should not be controlled. And we are the opposition, believe it or not. Yeah. That's why I don't cover the politics or anything else on my channel. I just try to stick to what's going on right now. Not what I think's going to happen, but what's going on. And it seems to do pretty well.
Yeah, and with me, I try to give the projections of what I'm seeing. So we can, eventually the light bulb moment's gonna come on. They're gonna figure it out, and it's like, man, this dude was trying to educate us all along. See, I believe that change comes about through education. My father's word, it says that my children die from lack of knowledge. So my job is to educate. That's my job. And it doesn't matter if they're believers or not. That's not my job. Okay, my job is to educate. My job is to love my neighbor as I love myself. My job is to love this planet. And there's some of these things that these corporations are doing that you cannot throw a paycheck at. See, they're saying, well, okay, I erred, I sinned, I'm going to throw a paycheck at it. No, you can't. You can't do that with the ocean. There is no saving paycheck or payout that you can do to bring the ocean back. And when it's getting creamed with nuclear radiation and nuclei and this ice pack is getting powder cake with all this fallout, no, you can't throw a paycheck at it. The climate runs the show. They got to put in energy policies to fit climate, and then the money. That's like 10 or 11 down the list. Okay, we need to start right there, man, to start working down the numbers. But until the people are educated on a mass level, it's not going to happen.
Hey,
And
can
Nate,
I just,
yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry. I just,
Oh, go ahead, sweetie.
something came up this morning, and I thought specifically about you, Scott. And I thought, oh yeah, I want to bring this up on the radio show. It's kind of segueing over, but everything you always talk about, Scott, with like Citizens United and like how horrible that is for us as a country. But they were just saying that because of Citizens United, the Chinese are dumping like millions of dollars into our election. I don't know who they're backing. That's the real question. But it's just so ridiculous that the Chinese are influencing American elections. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because I know you're real big on Citizens United. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, but I think it's, our elections are in 10 days or something like that. And I just think, what happened to the democratic system and what they're sending it over to the UN? Did you hear that? The UN is going to be checking our ballot counting. Are you, hello?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, what the heck's going on here?
Well, also right along with that, yesterday was UN Day, and they had announced that they're looking at clamping down as the UN for cyber terrorism on the internet. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there definitely is a UN invasion that is coming.
Yeah, the question is the UN actually controlled by us? So it's just kind of like the parent playing good guy, bad guy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, no, you can't go to the party because it's not good for you. Well, I would let you go. That's what I think. The UN is just a big like proxy for us. I think, don't you think?
I think they're the NWO stepping in, trying to, the whole biometrics thing and no anonymity on the internet. That's kind of what they're pushing for now. So you're going to have to have your
who
ID.
donated the land for the UN building in New York, right?
I'm sorry?
Did you see on YouTube how now they're trying to push you into using your real name?
Yeah.
And not your moniker?
Yeah.
So you're right, Jules. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to like pigeonhole. It's like, pigeonhole who's who, exactly what's going on. And like on the other side note, did you see that they're putting doomsday preppers? They put them at the top of the terrorist list.
They've actually, DHS came in and busted a couple of them after they were on the show for guns and things.
God,
crazy.
Nice.
Because doomsday preppers were after me for 6 months. They were writing me, calling me. And I was thinking to myself, now call me stupid, and I might sell some books if I go on national TV. I said, but what kind of prepper goes out and shows everybody what they have? Like, how do they not expect to be a target? And so then when me and this other author that I'm just about to interview in a little while went there, we flew actually to Kentucky. And I'm like, I'm not going to let somebody come to my house in LA. But this guy had offered us this underground bunker as a gift, this $100,000 gift because of my work on YouTube, right? So like when you see, if it sounds too good to be true, well, anyway, so we all fly to Kentucky to meet doomsday preppers. And they all fly in from New York with their crew and everything. They're really nice. But the bottom line is the whole thing fell apart because the guy with the underground bunkers was lying. There was no bunkers.
Wait a minute. I wonder if this is the same guy that was trying to get us on in Oklahoma. We were all invited for a reality show, and they had all this stuff, and the whole thing fell apart. We ended up not going because I caught that something was not right, but the whole thing, some of the guys went, the whole thing was a scam, total lie.
Oh, yeah, we all went.
And there was supposed to be a TV crew, and they had already pulled out.
Oh, everything. No, we got there and we started shooting it, right? And they're like, first he started with the whole thing. There were like 2 other prepper authors there, like big authors. Me and my son had flown in from LA because I'm like, okay, 1, I don't want to shoot in LA. And 2, I'm like, I want to see this bunker that they keep, he keeps telling, I signed 30 pages of non-disclosure acts, but he never sent the directions to the bunker. I'm like, what if I have to get my son underground? What if there is something I need to use this for, my son? Really, I'm not so much worried about myself. But anyway, it ended up, he kept hemming and hawing. We'd be shooting this and that. And finally, they're like, look, we're going to shoot this. We're supposed to be shooting this in the bunker. And then it comes out, it's just a bunch of bull. Literally, the guy's on the phone and he acts like his wife's yelling at him. And he's like, what? Oh, I have to leave? There's an emergency? he totally bailed and left us all sitting in this hotel in Kentucky. But now when I look back, I'm like, there's just a circumstance. At first, I'm like, so I spent my vacation money to come to Kentucky thinking I'd recoup it, like selling books or something, like it was a good business move. And I'm like, okay, well, let's have fun in Kentucky while we're here anyway. You know, I met some great people. But now I'm looking at God's bigger picture, and it's like, I would have been totally put on the no-fly list or something.
Yeah.
I would have, like, there's Linda West, the doomsday prepper. My girlfriend that's really in tune, she said to me, I don't want you to do it. She's like, I don't want you pigeonholed as a doomsday prepper because that's not what you are. And all of a sudden she goes, nobody's going to buy your book. So you're just going to think you're a quack doomsday prepper. So I'm just really feeling like, wow, I really got taken care of in that circumstance. And I just think it's so horrible. But that, you know, and they put a veteran that's a prepper is their number one priority of going after. And how disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what I thought it would be a good experience because this community, they were going to be starting from scratch. So there was nothing. We were going to show up with a blank lot in a forest somewhere, you know, and build an off-grid community. But it was the same deal. It was a guy, we find out he had all kinds of issues on the back end, and he brought all of his family. So there were only like 4 of us from the alternative media community that were supposed to be going, and everyone else were his family members.
What was his name? It's got to be the same person.
Yeah, we'll talk off air about it. Yeah, he's still kind of floating around. Huh?
Arc bunkers?
No, I was actually going to get a couple storage containers and take them down there, but they were going to build like underground, you know, sustainable stuff. So some of them could be built into a hillside, or you could use pallets or use whatever. But it was going to be a sustainable community off-grid. And they had, according to him, Discovery Channel was who.
Oh, see, now that sounds like the same tape.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. And thank God, I was going to go for 6 months, I told him. 6 months, I want to learn. I'm starting a network. Maybe I can do my own behind-the-scenes video stuff that, you know, we could broadcast on our network. I was thinking about doing some fun stuff, but... No, I didn't go, and thank God I didn't. But yeah, we'll talk off air because it sounds very similar, and they're still out there, by the way.
This guy, because he took everybody's money, he got all.
Yeah, he wanted cash.
And he didn't even give a care at all that we had all spent all this money and people had like driven for hours. I'd flown for hours. And like the guy lied to the point where like he said there were bunkers all over the country and that he just couldn't get me into the LA one because it was a 20-year wait or something. So he could only get me into the new. And they were all a lie, the whole network. But on a whole other side, it's really funny because my son mentioned too, like, you know, I live in Santa Monica. So there's people that live, you know, in apartments, and then there's people that live in the $10 million home. So you've kind of got this mix of working class people and then the really wealthy. So my son went to a school with a mix. And so he happened to be telling one of his good friends, oh yeah, well, we got this bunker and we're going to Kentucky to, you know, check it out. And he's like, Sebastian, you're not supposed to be talking about that. And my son was like, what? He goes, no, you can't talk about those bunkers. We're not allowed to talk about them. And he's like, my son was like, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, we all have bunkers, Sebastian. Ours is in Minnesota. He goes, but you're not supposed to talk to anybody about them. I'm like, okay, great. So all the rich people have bunkers, basically, is what he's saying, because they're super ultra rich. And they're not talking about it, which I find is really interesting. I mean, we're at least up front saying, man, I got to stick a shipping container underground or something. But they have them. The wealthier people definitely have them. Just as they're not on the stations talking about it, they definitely do have them. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, it's a huge industry. The bunker building.
And oh yeah, it's massive industry. But that's
it doesn't surprise me. There's some con artists running around.
Well, there used to be
one born every minute.
Well, you know, back in like when I first started getting on YouTube like 5 years ago, and I was looking up things on 2012, there were a couple communities that had like large scale communities underground, and they were called like Poseidon 1 and Poseidon 2, and they were selling like bunks out of them. And after like it was 6 months and they weren't there anymore. And I'm pretty sure they were filling up. So there are definitely a lot of, you know, sunken communities. But, you know, back in upstate New York during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Jules, you probably have this too, there's a lot of people with bomb shelters in their backyard. So this is really nothing new. You know, people have always been like, I might have to get underground, you know, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado, nuke scare. It's not really new, but I guess it's how long people plan to go under. That's different. I think, with the bomb shelters, it was kind of always like, well, I'll just go, it might just be a week or something, but.
Don't you remember doing air raid drills in elementary school?
Fully.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about scaring the crap out of you. I mean, it's like, yeah.
They even took us down into the basement in my elementary school, and they had 50-gallon barrels of water and all the MREs sitting on shelves. It was pretty nuts.
Did you have to lean up against the wall with your hands behind your neck? So
yeah, how would that help?
I don't know.
Put your head against the wall. Okay, so you don't see it coming.
Yeah, exactly.
It was horrible. I know. I'm glad they don't do that. But, my daughter just told me that they had drills the other day showing them how to go into lockdown. That really bothered me.
So what did they do in lockdown? What did that, what was that compromise?
They locked the doors and they waited for the police to come. That's what she told me.
Oh, God. Okay, so do exactly the opposite. Do not count on the police, do not call the police. But interesting, a prepper friend of mine did say because we were talking about the race riots that are, all over the place that they're talking about, that may just be a bunch of propaganda that they're trying to inflame the situation. But, he was saying the first thing you should do is put yourself, make it look like nobody's home. If you decide to bunker in, if you decide not to leave and you decide to whatever, wait it out and I forgot what he called it, homestead it or whatever. But the blackout things for your windows so people don't know that there's anything going on. And also he talked about if you have a house, make it black out your windows and everything and then throw a bunch of debris, start a small fire on the front lawn so it looks like somebody's already been through your house and ransacked it. So,
good thinking.
Yeah, it kind of was. I thought too. So, and then somebody said, well, if a house looks vacated, those are the first houses.
Think about your smells too.
Smells. Good point. What else?
You know what? These
they can
guys
smell breakfast 5 miles away.
But these guys that are coming through and stuff like that, they're if people have been conditioned to look at signs, okay? Oh, it's a stoplight. Oh, it's a stop sign. It's a no yield sign. Let me tell you, if you got a couple of those signs that says toxic, corrosive, whatever, man, and you got a pad, man, you just start putting some of those signs on it, or nuclear waste dump here, or
what about quarantine? That would be good too.
Quarantine.
Quarantine would be awesome,
dude. We should sell these right now. You know what I mean?
I don't make anything a business, when it goes to my father's house. But this information, you can actually, because they're going to use quarantine. You're dealing with multiple bugs coming. Okay, don't piss off the bugs because they're coming. You're going to have locusts. You're going to have all kinds of different problems there, but you're also going to have plague. You're going to have bugs and more bugs and more bugs. You're going to have mutated swine flu virus like they were having in Fukushima before Fukushima blew up. And that's right out of the World Health Organization. Those birds were flying right into the plant. It was manipulating the virus. And they got studies on it. Go over to the Centers for Biosecurity. I follow the bugs, man. But it's a factor that's going to be coming in like crazy. So yeah, having a sign saying plague or outbreak or is something like that. That's perfect because they have quarantine orders. I have a video from over 3 years ago right here on YouTube. It's called Rex 84. Healthcare is what's it called? Healthcare is really concentration camps, and they are. And I put all the different quarantine orders inside, mirrored right there on the video, worldwide from the legal council of the world or America or something. I put all those links in it too, and all the quarantine papers, the actual documents. If you don't take your shot, you get quarantined. You get put into one of these Rex 84 facilities we know as FEMA camps. And there's over 3,000 over here in the U.S. And they're going to have to. The climate is not going to allow them to put people that have not been vaccinated in with people that have. They're going by the numbers. They're going by the books, and they want to keep the status quo. They want to stay in power for as long as possible. So, after each one of these big natural disasters, keep pushing the propaganda, the agenda. Okay, go with the flow, and whoever bucks the tide, oh yeah, we'll throw them in a the FEMA camp. But I'll tell you what, I don't prep at all. My love is in my Father, and you know what? The only thing I need is the Word of God, man. It tells me what bugs are good to eat. I see people burn up the Bible and do all this other stuff. Holy smokes, that book could save your butt. If you don't have any survival books or nothing, man, that Old Testament, you can whip it out. It'll tell you what bugs are good. It'll because you won't know what food is around you, and it tells you what you can eat right there, man. You can figure it out. Yeah, it's a pretty darn good book, man. It's a great book. It'll save your butt, man. Don't leave home without it, man. You just chase Manhattan cards ain't going to save your butt. But, as far as that, man, I could go into the forest, and I know exactly what's edible and what's not. And back in the 1800s, kids were taught this. They were taught it, okay? Kids walked around with a gun to shoot Mr. Squirrel for dinner plate, okay? There was no Save March, none of this other stuff, okay? My children die from lack of knowledge. I'm going to keep saying this, okay? This humanity has gotten flabby. They're lukewarm. They're turning one blind eye to all this stuff. It's like that all-seeing eye with the pyramid, whatever. It's a big pyramid fraud with Big Brother's eye on top, and everybody knows it, but they keep turning a blind eye to it, and I'm going, wow. Well, you keep turning a blind eye to it, it's gonna side smack you in the head. That's like somebody swinging a frying pan from the side, and hold on, I'm holding my eyes so I don't see it coming. Boom. It's coming. But I keep it simple. I don't have to complicate anything. None of us are going to get out of here alive, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. Enjoy while you can, right, brother?
That's right.
Happy birthday. Yeah. Yeah, I love all you guys, man. This is what we're sorely lacking, man. The love of many is wax cold, and that's why they're not caring. It's not a question of not caring anymore. They're just so worn out over a long period of time that their thinking has been morphed, been jacked. Propaganda has gotten it, and they're so busy fighting and struggling and trying to make it and everything else that they can't see the forest from the trees anymore, and that's intentional. And they're going to make it harder and harder and harder. This is lockstep procedures right out of Rockefeller's report. Heck, I put that thing on that thing, years ago. And I mean, they were planning robot nurses by the year 2017. They got their 100-year protocol in their direction, but the climate is kicking their butt. It's changing the game on them. It is way moving fast, and it is throwing so many unknowns at them because they weren't here before the last, glaciatic age ended, and that new cycle began, and now we're here again at an end cycle of an ice thingy. So we're gonna. They've never seen it. They've never seen a plate break in the ocean. Never. They haven't had that happen, 2.2 million years? And then you get methane releases, and holy smokes, man. You can't turn a blind eye to it, man. You can't. No one can anymore. It's coming out of the box. No one's going to close that box. It's here. I mean, it's fairly obvious to anybody with any common sense and has their feet on the ground. It's here, and we're going to have to deal with it. And the group comes first. I'm an AA type of guy, and in AA there's the traditions. The group comes first, because if you don't have the group, the individual, you're going to die. That's a fatal disease, man. People die from it all the time. So if you don't have the group, then that guy doesn't have a place to go to get recovery. So the group has to come first. And that's the way I view this. The group comes first. Yeah, sure, I'm important, whatever. Okay, great. But if the group's not there, then where does that leave me? You know, when Father returns, you know, man, I want as many people here, man. It will suck going through eternity with 3 or 4 people laying around there. Let's have billions, man. He can create 100 million or so, 1 billion of them, man. You know, if that's the semantics, man, and start loving everyone, man. You know, and if they don't want to believe, that doesn't matter. God doesn't make junk. You love them, and stop looking down at the biosphere and humanity. Man, where's your self-esteem? What, do you get your self-esteem by bringing others low? Is that how you bring your self-esteem up? Is that how? You know, man, you know, that works when you're a child, but you know, when you mature, you're supposed to mature. You know, you lift others up. You don't tear them down. This world's torn down enough. It needs people that are around to lift others up. You know? That's the way I see it.
Hey, can I ask you guys sort of a side question? Was there anything more? I honestly, the last few days, I've been absolutely buried, so I haven't paid a lot of attention. But was there any more on that hoax that happened over the weekend with people saying that there was a fire in Japan and at Fukushima? Did you see any updates?
I guess Dutch Sense published a thing over on his channel thing. I had one of my subs call me this morning. He goes, "Hey man, there's a thing over on Dutch Sense," and he's exposing Robert with prophetic seer apparently on the fire thingy, and I guess it was Mork or something. Because we talked about that on Tuesday, right? Nibiru, because I didn't know nothing about it. I've been busting numbers and working. Yeah, and doing other things. I was at the hospital this weekend, and but there's a lot.
It was word for word a story from
Yeah, it was garbage. It was.
I heard he did it to get attention or to bring attention.
Yeah, something like that. You know, but that's you know, I've seen that on YouTube all the time. You know, and what sucks is when this stuff is trying to rub itself on me. Man, it has nothing to do with me, man. Yeah, I was like, wow. And so anyway, Dutch and Robert, I guess, are going back and forth or whatever. And then Robert shut down all his stuff apparently, and now he's opening up a new type of thingy, and he tore out the Cyber Tribe or whatever, and he was reporting, earthquake or something this morning, underneath Japan and stuff. And you know, Robert, he has skills. He's an MC. He is not. He's trying to put himself in the body that he's not a part of. It's kind of like if you're a finger and you're a toe. Okay, if you're a finger, stay a finger. Don't quit trying to be a toe all the time. Just find your niche and stay in that. You don't have to. You'll find your success somewhere there, brother. You know, and with Dutch, you know, he's finding his success. He's building his channel. He's got a wonderful platform. You know, I love all these guys. You know, I've seen millions of people make mistakes all the time on YouTube. Welcome to humanity. I love you. You know, just don't put people into that fear propaganda BS. It doesn't
exactly. Fear propaganda is what gives us a bad name. You know, just be a realist about it. Sorry.
Oh yeah. It's like, well, what was that, Nibiru?
I said, sounds like a battle of egos going on. It just gives all of us a bad name, really does.
Well, you know what I've learned in life, you know, because it is a trip, you know. My first sponsor, you know, over 20 years ago, he goes, "Hey, Scott," you know, so I go, "Yeah," you know, he goes, "You see all those things that you see in other people?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "All right, take your pen out." I was like, "All right." He goes, "Write them all down." Okay, yeah, oh man, that person's this and that person's that, and this person, they're this and that, you know. I'm writing all this down, okay, you know. And then he goes, "Okay, sign your name to it." And I go, "Huh?" I guess I sign my name to it. And he goes, "Okay, if you can recognize it in another person, then you own it, because that's the only way you're going to be able identify it is if you got some of that in you too, you know.
Hey, can I add to that?
Yeah.
I have to go in just a minute, but I wanted to add to that because I think it's funny because the Mayan priests, they wore big mirrors on their head. And it was so that when people came up to talk to them and start complaining about their neighbor, that they were looking at themselves the whole time. Just like you said, it's just like, oh, yes, so really, it is like, oh, wow, that kind of just says it all. You're like, and he's a jerk and he's cheap. And like, and you're looking at yourself and they're like, okay, you got it? See you later. But on that note, guys, thank you so much for inviting me into the radio show today. I have to go interview an author on prepping, which Ron Foster. But if anyone wants to check out my channel or that interview, I'm MorningMayan over on YouTube. Linda West is my name. Jules, thank you so much for having me on. Let's stay in contact about going back home. Nibiru, happy birthday, man. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And Scott, I love you and everybody out there. Thanks for sharing your time with me. I'm sorry, I got to run. I went back past my time limit, but please,
Thanks,
call me anytime, guys.
And thanks for giving me that $40 when I was down there like a year ago. I forgot to thank you, man.
Oh,
Peace
hey,
out.
you know what? That's whatever, man. Just you're just part of God, and I happen to have it at the time, so my pleasure. All right. Bye, guys. Love y'all.
All right. Take care, Linda.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, we got about 15 minutes left. Which direction do we want to take this?
Oh, it's a party, man.
It is. It's a birthday party. Online. Any other big crazy things happening? Honestly, I've been doing 5 hours of radio today, so from the minute I got up, I was on air, and I have not paid very close attention.
Yeah, just got some more stories coming in about the tuna being contaminated. They just put out a study. The entire food web, including humans, may be affected as Fukushima spreads to the West Coast kind of thing. And we've been going on and on about that for over a year now. More truths leaking out that they've been trying to hide for a very long time. And if people would just follow the, simple links, E&E News, Fukushima Diary, sites like that.
Yeah, remember that video I did years ago where I just got off the bus. I'm standing in front of the cop station down in, by the San Andreas Fault over there in San Bernardino. And I got this book, what to do about nuclear waste. And this was a kid book from a middle school, folks. And the video's right there on YouTube. And I read through it, and this is way before Fukushima, because I knew those were going to start happening. But it shows where they did open studies where they exposed our military to hundreds of thousands of military to nuclear exposure to see how, whatever. And heck, all these nuclear fallout incidents, you know why they don't want to give you your teeth? Because they can trace the uranium and all the other nuclear components that your body ingested. And they don't want you to go after them with a lawsuit, okay? You see, over where I was born in California, they were having Simi Valley nuclear meltdown there. They had 3 nuclear meltdowns here in California. There was no containment dome on that thing, okay? And it melted down 3 times. It was a weapons facility. And they didn't tell nobody boo. I picked up idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura from it. Say that 5 times fast.
Aren't they selling that property right now for redevelopment? Didn't I read a story about that?
Oh yeah. Oh man. They're just going to put schools and they got schools and houses and all kinds of developed area around there, man.
Insanity. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Oh, I went.
Just gets crazier by the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I went through there and it was a funny video on Global Truth Network one.
Before I heard they're going to build like a casino on top of it or something.
Oh, sure, why not? Let the children have fun before they die. But you notice you're going to see more and more casinos. You're going to see more and more of these pull tabs and scratchers, and you know why? Because every time there's a Great Depression, man, people start taking major risks, and gambling's the way to get their last cents, you know. And you know, when people reach their bottom, and man, this is clockwork. And I'm just sitting there, you know, as they've infiltrated these Indian casinos over the last 20 years, which is a fraud. They're owned by big money. You know, it's a joke. But anyhow, I've just been slowly watching that because they got multiple different things going on simultaneously with their Agenda 21. See, that's in full swing. You know, when I saw that dude, that gay dude that's on TV, what's his name? You know, short hair, cut hair dude. They had a video on him on YouTube, and he was saying, yeah, you know, the free party. I don't care what gets the free party going, but you know, and I'm listening to this guy. No, there's too many people here, man. Let them die. And this guy supposedly is, you know, one of the leaders of the gay community. You know, and I was like, huh? That came out of the box, and I'm going, dude, you don't care. And I just sit there listening to this video, and I was just stunned. I was shocked. You know, like right now, there's what's his name? Rather that what's his name? The Voice of America, one of the two Voices of America for like 50 years. Dan Rather. Okay, he's got a YouTube station.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, I don't either. But you know, he is a platform. And then somebody sent me over that he was on the Council of Foreign Relations or something. I'm going, oh God, isn't it tight into this garbage, man? Start coming out of it, man. If any of these royals and any of these guys, you guys got to start coming out of this nonsense, man. Your butt's toast too. Okay, you're not going to get out of this one. Those underground things are not going to save your butt. Okay, they're not. Okay, you know, only repenting. Come out of the idolatry of incorporation. You know, will the polluters repent and stop polluting? Because they're polluting our banking system, they're polluting our health, our crops, our energy needs. Everything's screwed up across the board because of that legal
that's all part of the
higher
plan.
Power.
They make it so terrible. They make it so terrible that the only feasible response is to globalize everything and to put it under one set of rules instead of, you know, we've got 169 countries, you know, everybody with their own little sets of rules and their own variations of such, so they can play games with the monastery system. This is all about getting to one big global governance, and they got to make everything look so bad, so when they tear it down, then they represent the new savior economy, whatever they're going to do, you know, people will actually go for it. At least the uneducated people will actually go for it.
Well, yeah,
you can ask anybody on the street, and they'll tell you, you know, it's all corrupt. Well, that's the way the empire crumbles, and from the ashes rises anew. It's been done over and over again.
Not this time.
If you're talking geopolitical of whatever.
Yeah, God's coming back. He's going to nip in the butt. You know, unless either that or we're just going to walk around like Jabba the Hutt, brother. You know, it was like, hey, man, did you see the squirty news on that one? You know, I mean, it's
do the Mad Max roulette, yeah.
Well, you know, I was thinking about all the dragons in the ocean right now. You know, if anyone would read their scripture, you know, the dragons are in the ocean. That's the golden dragon, man, the ancient order of the deep. You know, I even showed one of their cards on one of my videos, man. That's an ancient society, and those dragons, you know, you'd call them Loch Ness monster or whatever. It is covered in scriptures and psalms, but you know, they had that big eyeball come up off the Florida shore. It looks like Florida's sinking. It's down 12 inches from what I'm seeing. But they had this huge blue eyeball that came up on shore, man. It was massive. I'm going like, and this, whatever it was.
Yeah, I saw
the Yeah, got its butt kicked. It was torn to shreds by something bigger than that. You know, it's out there, man. Maybe Leviathan. You know, that's another creature that's supposed to be out there scripturally. But we're gonna see some weird stuff, man. Especially with the Earth opening
who knows
up.
what's been stirred up in the deeps of the Gulf of Mexico? I mean, the real deeps of the Gulf of Mexico after the BP spill. No telling what's been stirred up and moved about.
Yeah, and you ever see one of those like that? Yeah, you see that cubicle like in Hellraiser where they have that cubicle and they all come in line and then dude comes out of the box. The Earth's kind of like that, man. You can see her adjusting and moving, and it's like she's being twisted like that box thingy. And as soon as enough clicks click, then openings start opening up within the Earth. Ancient tunnel systems or whatever. Who knows what the heck's down there? Who knows? But there's stuff out there in the ocean that people don't know about, man. And the ocean covers 2/3 of this planet. Exactly. Yeah, and there's the reason why they got better photos and plotting of Mars and the Moon than they do of this ocean. Because they can only do what they're allowed or able to do with whatever's involved out there with that.
Yeah, you guys, we need to have a conversation like off hours, because I found some evidence a long time ago. I know what's going on with the oceans, as I'm sure you probably do.
Yeah, well, we'll get into a cool discussion, offline one of these days. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or I don't know how Christina's doing next week. I don't know if anyone talked to you. But you guys are welcome anytime you feel like it. So just let us know.
Oh, that's cool, man.
She doesn't know if Christine's going to want to talk to us after this. I'm kidding. Get well, Christine. Get well.
Yeah, I'm hoping she's doing well. So where are you guys located? West Coast? East Coast?
Today, West Coast. Tomorrow, the moon!
The moon, yeah.
Heartland. Deep in the heartland. Yep, Iowa.
Wow. So you said it's getting kind of nippy up there, huh? You saw that Kurt was saying that some big hurricane's coming and it's going to whomp the East Coast.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's Sandy. She's coming up. That's
big.
It's not uncommon, but yeah. That would be. Let me get to the link anyway.
Yeah, it sounded really ominous when he was reading it to me this morning. It's supposed to be like one of the biggest storms that we've seen in a really long time, right, Kurt?
It's going to be
unprecedented, he said. Oh no.
Category 3.